I just wanted to give a few quick thoughts on the debate that Vox Day had with, what is his name? JF? I haven't listened to much of him. He's that French dude. But it was interesting when JF started talking about how it's the mutations can happen in parallel. He fell into the same type of a mindset from the way I look at it. He fell into the same type of mindset that a lot of people who first learn about parallel versus serial fall into. So, just quickly to define the difference, because I know Vox was using it and Jeff was using it. And I don't know if he said serial, but he was talking about parallel. And Vox on his thing today or the day after, he mentioned how there is a difference between serial and parallel, but I don't think a lot of people, I don't know, maybe they do, but I'm guessing a lot of people don't know what the difference is. So what the difference is serial. When something is cereal, it tastes delicious and you eat it with milk. On top of that, you can only do it one thing at a time. For instance, you have to have the first part of it done before you can do the middle part of it, and then you have to have the middle part of it done before you can do the last part of it. That's serial. You can't do them all at the same time. Parallel, you can do them all at the same time. So when you first start to learn how to program in parallel, you have to look at your algorithm, and the algorithm is just the steps that you take to solve a problem. It's nothing special. It's just what steps do you take to solve a problem. So you look at your algorithm, and you have to decide and determine what parts can be broken up and done in parallel and what parts can't be. Certain things can't be done in parallel and certain things can be done in parallel. When JF was saying, oh, because of mutation it happens in parallel, then that accounts for X mutations, which is cool, I guess, but that's asserting that everything is done in parallel without any need for serial behavior. And that's where Vox pointed out today that that's not true. I mean, you look at speciation, you look at how there are different species, and the fact that we have different categories of animals, just mammals, different categories of mammals, and there's a unanimity between a certain category, that indicates that there was something serial that made those come together, and there was a serial point that couldn't have been done in parallel, and Jeff was kind of just wiping it away as if it were if it wasn't a big deal. I'll link the debate. They call it a debate, but they both weren't going at it to win. They were just going at it as a conversation and trying to investigate ideas and stuff, and I thought it was good. And I don't think that anybody crushed the other person. I think they both had different points of view, and they both shared good points of view. The thing that Vox did, or the thing that JF did, and Vox pointed out today, the day after he was talking about it, but JF, when he came to the point and he started talking about it, he even mentioned that you can look at today and you look at the world that we're in, and you know that it had to happen this way. And that's the rhetoric that Vox was talking about. Basically, you look at the present and use that as your proof to your theory, and that's not scientific. That's not there's no way to test that. There's no way to experiment against that. There's no way. That's a complete assertion, and it's rhetorical, which means it's just what it's a convincing argument, but it's not a scientific inquiry. So, getting back to parallel versus serial, there are certain things, and let's take sorting for instance. If you have a list of numbers and you need them sorted from the biggest to the smallest, there are most algorithms that solve that sorting problem have to do it in serial, because you have to solve where the smallest one is before you can get the bigger one, and next bigger, and next bigger, and next bigger. There are certain algorithms that are clever, and they do things in parallel. There's one called the merge sort, and that what that does is it basically takes your list. It takes your list and it breaks it into half, and it breaks it into half, into half, into half, until you have just one. And then when you put it back together, that section of the algorithm you still have to run in serial, because as you're putting it back together, they have to come back. Oops, they have to come back from the different processors, and they have to work on the same processor and have the shared memory again. And so it's not there. Parallel isn't just a fix-all. It's a something that can be done, but only two things that can be ran in parallel. And so there is limitations that JF simply didn't acknowledge. And I thought that was interesting, and that's hopefully that's a decent explanation for anybody who may have been wondering what he meant by parallel versus serial. One of the things that I should stop there.